Welcome, welcome, welcome to FYI. Good morning. Hope you're having a pleasant day. It's a blessing to be with you this morning. I'm here with no other than Sherrod Duncan. Good morning,
Good
Sherrod.
morning, Jurita. Good morning, Guyana. Hope you guys are great wherever you are joining us from. Welcome to our new morning program, FYI, for your information. For your information.
That's right. I mean, it's brand new. It is. I think that's the name of the program. Just says it all. What we're going to be doing here this
For your
morning.
information.
We're going to bring in information to the Guyanese people. I believe that there's a large audience that has been requesting that persons come on in the
They
morning.
want more of me. Well,
So-
what I can tell you, you'll not necessarily have more of me, but you have more information because this is we're gonna have other persons joining our table, joining our discussion, and we hope that you guys pull up a cup of coffee. Folks, this is no pretense. I'm hungry right now. So pull up a chair, pull up a cup of coffee with us, or whatever you guys have for breakfast in the morning, as we share some information with you over the next 45 minutes, an hour perhaps. And you know what? I keep hearing some spirituality creeping into your vocab this year. Blessings and
well, it's necessary. I was brought up in a very much of a religious home. I have a religious foundation, so it creeps
I'm
up every
happy.
now and again.
I'm happy because if you sabbat naturally, imagine if you had little religion in you.
Bad in a
If you
good way.
sabbat naturally. Good to see so many of you. I see Roxanne Liverpool is tuning in, and Maureen Coppin Williams and Sasha Trim. Good morning to each and every one. Guys, you know, whichever program you're joining us with or joining us to. Whether it's now it's FYI for your information, or it's below the belt, or it's in the ring, wherever you guys are joining. We always ask that you share the share the live stream and smash that emoji button. But we're so happy that you guys have chosen to join us this morning. As we said, we're going to be sharing a bit of information with you.
A lot of information, actually.
We're going to be sharing information with you guys. Pull up a cup of coffee. Pull up a cup of whatever tea you have. You know, we have so many varieties of teas now.
You know, there are a lot of persons on their way to work right now that's actually
Yeah.
just tuning in via their WhatsApp and so forth and looking at us. So we encourage persons also to share on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
amazed to see the amount of persons that actually told me that they're listening to the program on WhatsApp because it's on their phone, they're on the go, and they don't have to sign into Facebook or other platforms. So persons that are joining us on WhatsApp, that you're going to work, you have your phone safely mounted in your cars, just holding it to your hands.
I'm wondering if Pretty Malicia is going to work, if Keon Kelly is going to work, if Tasha Silette is going to work, and Valderine Hackett, are you going to work this morning? What are you guys doing? How are you guys spending the day? You know, we trust if you're going to work, you're going to be productive. You're going to rise to whatever challenges the day throws at you. But we're so happy to be here with you in the morning. I've gotten so accustomed to just doing the podcast in the midday. And then the evening program. To be out early in the morning, it's something else. I'm promising y'all I can be here every morning.
I'm a morning person, don't worry.
Well, I'm still gonna come around to it a little bit, but we're gonna be on every morning for the week. FYI for your information, and we're gonna have different persons stopping by, different persons joining us virtually, and we look forward to seeing each and every one of you here with us. Wherever you're joining us from, ensure that you share the live stream. Some of you are going to be joining us from Twitter. Some folks are joining us from LinkedIn, Jurida. Some folks, notice you have gotten a lot of very spiritual for the new year, but my accent, my accent is deepening.
Oh my God.
So wherever you guys are joining us from LinkedIn or YouTube, Twitter, y'all hear the Twitter, wherever you guys are joining us from, welcome to our program, FYI, for your information. For your information. I know lots of things are happening out there. Lots of stuff happening out there. First thing, we got a new currency. And I wanted to look, things tight. So I wanted to look a little bit, we in there right to the Granger. We at the trenches. I wanted to look a little bit like the note. You know, the note is a little pink. Some people say red, some people say pink. So I am wearing the part.
It's not in circulation as yet. I know a specimen has been put out there by the media, and that's how we are all aware. I know there have been wide scale criticism of the fact that persons are saying that the one Guyana is superimposed as against the country's motto: one people, one nation, one destiny. So that's something that has been out there. Persons have been discussing. I know personally we have a motto, so we don't need to impose anything on the Guyanese people, So, but it's just a current. It's just a note. It's just a new note. I just want persons to be aware of that. It doesn't mean having a new note in circulation doesn't mean that there's more money in circulation. It doesn't affect the money supply. So,
And then some people, some person have been saying too that this new note is going to cause inflation and all of that. I'm not so certain. I think that's your forte.
well,
Maybe
that's what I was just saying. It's not going to cause. It's not. It doesn't affect the money supply in the country. A lot of persons think that when you have a new note into circulation and the money supply, that then there's going to be inflation. But persons can look back when the $5,000 note came into circulation. There wasn't any inflation to talk about on those years either. So that you can look at an example of that. Just don't take it from me again. Go do your little research, but it doesn't affect the money supply. Having a new note doesn't affect
listen to
the
the
money
expert, guys.
supply. So
Listen to the experts.
I heard some persons going out there and making that assumption if it's going to cause inflation and so forth. No, there's a lot of other things that cause inflation, sure, but with that, I think
It's
that's
not. It's not this new note. Well, folks, let me tell you all this. Juita Bright, right? Juita did economics at UG. Let me touch her a little bit. Then she did a master's in public administration.
public administration.
Public administration, and she's bright, so she knows what she's talking about. So I trust her when she says it's not going to cause inflation or anything like that just yet. But how are you guys doing? How are you guys doing? Some of y'all were in a cleaning mode, heading through the door, and then you turn back and say, that's what happens. Somebody saying my shirt looking tight.
Things tight.
Somebody said things tight. My shirt looking tight. Mind we. Not your business.
Drink water.
Drink water, my own business. Guys, so glad to have you here with us. So we got the new note coming out, and I'm matching the new note, right? So y'all send us. If y'all don't like the notes, send them to us. We have some uses for it. If y'all don't like the new $2,000 note that is dubbed the trenchy, send it to us. We got some uses for it. But that being said, further afield, further away from this new note, where you got the Benjamins, Rihanna.
Oh, Rihanna.
Rihanna.
Riri, we claim her too. I know Barbados is right out there claiming her.
Yeah, and then
her
she says someone of her parent has Guyanese lineage,
mother, I'm not
right?
too sure. Don't let me.
And then there's a Rihanna Gordon Mosley factor too. So I want Gordon. I want Gordon bring that home for us. I want Gordon bring that home.
But what do you mean? I think I'm a little sailing.
Well, folks say that Rihanna is pregnant. The fella ASAP Rocky is the child father.
Yes.
ASAP Rocky is the child father. But folks are contending that Gordon got a fingernail in this thing too. Right?
Our Gordon.
Yes, Gordon Mosley.
Guyanese Gordon.
Guyanese Gordon Mosley. So I'm actually rooting for Gordon. For the fact that if Gordon scores this, it means that some of this 2 point something billion that Rihanna is worth comes here. So I'm rooting for it from that standpoint. The child can be Guyanese too, and all.
It's scandalous,
So I'm rooting. I pull in for Gordon.
I'm not a part of this scandal.
I pull in for Gordon. Make we all say. I pull in. Andrew Cuthbert, Ransford Morgan, and Christy Barrows. I pull in for Gordon. Is it Fervor Annie Paulette Hicks? I pull in for Gordon. Me can we all say? I pull in for Gordon.
Well, I don't know. I mean, this is the first I'm hearing of Gordon having any interest to that.
In Rihanna, I no, but Gordon has been a big fan of Rihanna for a very long time. If you
not
follow
in
Gordon.
Rihanna, but in that I think that would be like the definition of an entanglement.
Gordon, ASAP, Rihanna. But however that goes, I still pull in for Gordon. Me can we all say? I still pull in for Gordon. What else happening internationally?
Well, there's so much happening right about now, Shard. I know one of the things I've been looking at on I think it's ABC. Anyway, one of the reporters was there with and Biden let go of some words that I think was not presidential. when one of the reporters asked him a question that he deemed not to be appropriate. I think he said, "You stupid SOB," but he didn't say SOB. He said
He says, "You stupid son of a bitch." That's what he said. Folks, we're not going to be politically correct on this show. As you know, we don't go like that. He said, "You stupid son of a bitch." That's what he said.
No, but it just goes to show that persons. Biden is in the highest office in USA, the president of the United States of America, and even he has these little moments that the slip of, I would say, the slip of the
Yeah,
tongue.
yeah, yeah.
I think in retrospect, he's gonna probably I should not have said this or whatever. But I did listen to the question I shared, and it was a pretty stupid question to come from a reporter. So I understand why
The
that
frustration.
came out.
And you have to manage the world's largest democracy,
Yes.
world's most powerful nation, and then you get a question that like,
But those things are, I mean, we're in the political arena a whole lot, so we understand that sometimes things are asked that you have to stop.
Folks,
I
let me tell you
wonder-
something. Judith is talking, and all I can think about is how hungry I am. I ain't hearing Judith. All I'm thinking about, we got up so early to prep for the show. I'm so hungry, I'm so hungry, your belly burn. Things like that's how hungry I am. So all I'm thinking, folks, I just want to sip a little tea and mind my own business, and Judith can keep on talking.
Sharon, he has been up very early. I must say that to the viewers this morning. So kudos to you because you do the evening, the night show rather in the ring, and then you came out and you're still here this morning. But it's very necessary. I think we are at the information age right about now, and you are doing a phenomenal job. If I have to toot your horn,
folks, let me tell you something. I am telling you this up front. The show will go on, but I'm not going to be here every morning. I can promise. I can tell you that. I won't be here every morning, but the show will go on. The show must go on. It always goes on. And you're going to get the same kind of content, information pack, making sure you start the day right with the right kind of information.
Well, the right kind of information, as we see for this particular show, Cheryl, as we've been discussing prior, is we're not going to be break. This is not a heavy show. This is not a show to depress you. We want to start your morning off basically by bringing you the information. We want to make sure that you are informed. Once something is out there and it's happening, we're going to bring it to you. So you don't have to go looking everywhere for the information. This is going to be a show that put it all together so that you don't have to go looking. So at 8 o'clock, you know that this is your information show. You come, you join, a very light moment. I think I have a very light personality shared. But you
and also, folks, don't look for the political correct. So it's just by a y'all may seen a little dry down a tennis show here with little cheese. It's just by we couldn't get the shop so early. It's only by a inch y'all miss it. Do not look for the political. We can be them kind of shows where everything is picture perfect. One morning you're gonna tune in and you're gonna see me bubbling a pot at the back here, somebody frying little eggs and something. Welcome to breakfast. Welcome to breakfast, folks. What are you guys having for breakfast out there? How do you do breakfast?
Well, sure. You actually did a pretty good job putting together.
I drink my black tea.
I think he's
folks,
correct.
Again, we're not going to be politically correct. The handle is supposed to be this way. But I want y'all to see when you come outside. So I'm going to pretend I'm left-handed this morning. Hello, sunshine. Hello, sunshine.
It's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting. I think mine say I woke up like this. So very accurate. Very accurate.
like them tell. Like them tell.
Very,
Folks,
very accurate.
Good to have you guys here with us. Again, we love sharing this time with you. Love being in your homes, on your smartphones. Some of you are heading to work in the subway, in North America, in Canada. You guys are off to work, perhaps even heading home from the night shift. And I'm always so privileged when we get a chance to travel overseas. People tell us, we join you guys. We were in Japan and we tune in. I'm going home in an Uber taxi and I'm tuned in to see what's happening back home. And we love that you guys have this interest. And because of that, we're privileged to bring more of it to you guys. We were on in the evenings only, and people kept saying, oh, we need more of you guys. We need more. The night is too long to get all this information. And so you've asked for it. And here we there. We out here. Well, we're actually inside, but you understand. We out here. What else happening, Peter?
Well, where do you want us to take it from, Sherrod? We have so many social issues, so many economic issues that's happening right about now. As we go through the newspaper this morning, I mean, one of the things that we can discuss up front is CGX. You know, CGX has been out there for a while. CGX came with their big oil fine offshore, and that's something very interesting. We had so many discussions in the public about our newfound oil resource or oil wealth. Actually, the budget that is being debated in Parliament right now, it's the first budget that's actually utilizing resources from our oil find. So, what does this say for Guyana? What does this say for Guyanese? How does this benefit the ordinary Guyanese?
Well, it seems for me personally, the more oil we find is the more cost of living going up. The more oil we find, the more cost of living going up. And we're seeing some reports from the daily newspapers that says that CGX Frontiera finds oil offshore quarantine. Well, I guess by now nobody excited. Nobody now excited about it. Was what, 15, 20 oil finds by now?
CGX is excited.
And
CGX
Frontiera.
is very, very excited, And this is the fact of the matter. I mean, the ordinary guy needs to go out there and you read, oh well, CGX found. Oh, but let me just remind persons, when the first oil find for Guyana, our very first oil find, Guyanese were excited. We saw all the memes coming out on social media. Persons were pulling photos from Dubai and
Oh, yes.
posting their faces
Yeah.
on it.
Yep.
That they're
Yep.
going to be like this and
Yep.
they're going to be. Well, that has unfortunately that dream has been squashed because now persons realize that even with this first budget that is utilizing the oil resources, that lovely life and that hope and that dream, your aspirations of actually elevating your standard of living and all of that's basically squashed because there's absolutely nothing in there for the ordinary Guyanese. So CGX, congratulations to CGX on their fine. I know this is good for the company and all of that, and but the resources as it pertains to the distribution to the ordinary man and woman, to the child that the policeman had to actually buy something for him to eat that was walking without shoes. That means absolutely nothing. That's just the harsh reality of what we're dealing with right now. There's so many social issues, Sharon, and I think this show is perfect for us to actually bring in those social issues. You go down the streets and you see so many persons that are literally begging their bread. And this is a country with less than 1 million people. We are right there. We are one of the fastest growing economies in the world. And we have little kids walking around the street begging for food.
Yep.
So
Yep.
we need to bring these things to person's attention. This is what is happening. It's not always about what is exciting in the news, those sensational news. But the real matters that actually affect persons, the real people,
Yep.
the Guyanese people that are in these little communities that have been neglected. We need to talk about them. We need to shed some light onto those situations and let's make a difference in
I
whatever
think
way we could.
I think it's perfectly said. I think it's perfectly said. I think for me, outside of hosting the programs, outside of if you think we're public personalities and as you see on Facebook, you're a public figure, right? I signed up as a parliamentarian because I felt you could now bring some of the thoughts and ideas you have with what the people want, and you shape policies. And I don't necessarily want to oppose any government if you're in opposition for the sake of opposing. And my own hope is that people can look past that you APNU AFC. That's the first label
Yeah.
we always say as a member of parliament. And we can actually bring good policy and we can work together so that these biggest budgets ever can be meaningful to that little 6-year-old walking from a little diamond to Grove Diamond area there looking for food. That can impact him. This new oil find with CGX and Frontiera can impact that young child's life in a meaningful way. And we need to bring more people out of, let's say, poverty into the lower upper middle class and that kind of stuff. Bring people out of poverty. And it's a small country, huge windfall in terms of the oil resources, the oil wealth, and that must touch every life and impact everything. So me personally, I can say it's not just opposition for the sake of opposition. If you bring nonsense, you don't want to listen to the other side in parliament, then you'll get opposition. But if you engage meaningfully, then we can work together, and not and meaningfully, meaning that when you hear us, you can be able to say, okay, this sounds good. We can bring this on board, and we can move this country forward. And whether we are in government, we treat the other side with the same courtesy of listening, hearing the other side, listening to all the ideas, and the strongest ideas must prevail,
Prevail.
and we move this country forward.
Well, that's the only way. That's the only way that we believe that the country can be moved forward. I mean, I'm a very young parliamentarian. This is my very first time in parliament. I just entered politics, so we're young. We're young at this, and I believe there's a beauty of being young at it because we don't have a lot of the old dislike for each other, right?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
deal with what is being done. This is not a personality issue. This is not about we dislike the people
Yeah.
in this political party or not. But if your policies that you are imposing on the people of the country, the people that we represent, if we see that they do not benefit those persons, and if we believe that they do not act meaningfully to raising the standard of living of persons that are actually living below the poverty line. There are thousands of Guyanese that are living below the poverty line. I take the issue of poverty very seriously. I've often said on different platforms that I know what it is like to be poor because I've been there. I grew up in a very poor household. So when persons talk about poverty, I understand it from a very personal level. So it's not always about just bringing something and standing in parliament and delivering a budget. You say, oh, well, it's the biggest budget ever. It's going to do this and it's going to raise them. How? It's very amazing when you ask the how. How is this going to how is it going to happen? Persons have absolutely no response to give to you because unless you are directly impacting that family's lives, unless you are directly putting a policy in place that's going to put more money in their pockets, then you are not doing anything. And that's just the blatant truth of the matter. Share, but we have so many situations, and I can actually share. When the more you're out there and you're on the ground, the more you can see what is going on. And I had one experience with a little child actually. I had an experience with a little child. I was at the shopping mall and there was a little child. The parent would be basically slapping her around, and I could have seen her, but she was like more. She was little indigenous. I say a little Brazilian looking little girl, and the person wasn't. So you know that this is not a biological child of this person. And I followed up that story very keenly. I actually went to the school of the child the next day and found out what is going on. And what I learned is that that little child, the woman actually is raising her because her parents are not capable of raising her, and she has a history of abuse, serious abuse, and she was like 9 years old, and the school spoke so much about having difficulties in actually having persons take care of her. These are the real situations that we're dealing with, and this is why we go out there and we seriously defend the right of poor people in this country. And I could speak for myself, Sharon. Nobody can ever come and say, oh, well, what were you doing about it then and there? I have always defended the rights of those persons, and I will continue to do that.
And I'm happy.
I think
Please do.
Sharon, I think
Please do.
Sharon is a little.
And I think the point that you raise is an important one. We were talking on our podcast below the bell just yesterday about fighting for your children.
Yeah.
We're featuring 13-year-old Jesus Gonzalez, who would have lost his life. Another 13-year-old hit him in his head with a steel rod, and ultimately Jesus lost his life. And the point I was making is, here is Jesus dead. We were talking with his sister, and we were saying how you fight for your family. She's fighting for justice for her brother. And too many times we give up on our children much too early. And while the government has a huge part to play in setting policies, setting a level playing field, and all of that, we have a right, in spite of all of it, to go out there and fight for our families. Too many men in our country, are just sperm donors, right? You make a child and you mistake, and then that child got to walk now from Little Diamond to Grove looking for food, right? I listened to the sister talk about Jesus, and I was wondering, I wonder where Jesus' father there,
No.
right? We gotta fight for our children. We gotta fight for them. We gotta fight for them. We gotta fight for them. We are a small country, and we gotta look out for each other. Sometimes it's not your biological kids, right? But you gotta look out for your neighbor's children too. It takes a village. That African proverb tells us we gotta fight for the kids. We can't give up on them. We can give, irrespective of the government of the day, the policies that are in place. We gotta fight for them. We gotta fight for them.
Yeah, well, that's a very interesting topic. I mean, that deals more with, like I said earlier, we're going to be dealing with a lot of social issues as well. And that hits home right to the heart of social issues and things that we're fighting in this country, social challenges that we're up against. The absence of parents, and
Yeah,
especially fathers. And that's just the truth. I'm not just trying to be any gender bias or anything like that. But the fact is, fathers are absent more in the lives of their children. But when you put your presence in the lives of your children, it makes a huge difference. It makes a difference in the way in which people treat your children. If someone, oh well, this child's father and mother is always here, always shows up at PTA meetings. They're always there, at clinic to take the child and all of that. People treat your children differently as opposed to the children that is just there showing up by themselves
yeah,
as though they
yeah,
have no one. And we encourage persons to play that
yeah.
active role in your child's life. And there's a lot of persons going to give a long list of excuses. I have to work, I have to do this, I have to do that. But to what end? We have to get to a point in our lives as parents that we say this is our priority. Our priority is our child. What is the reason that we're going to work in the first place? Because we want to provide for these children. So you need to make that child your priority, and it's very sad to see that that child has lost his life. I mean, those things, as a mother myself, I can't even imagine how I would respond to something like that. I would just go berserk.
Yeah,
That's ridiculous.
yeah.
So we need to play that active role, and we need we need to teach our children to, when it comes to even things like anger management, how they're dealing with their own temper and stuff like that. I know that there have been a lot of videos about these huge fights in
Well,
secondary
I
schools.
would, I would love to say that lots of the anger management and so on of managing anger comes from the home, because when you see what is playing out in the home, you're teaching the children.
Correct,
By
correct.
default, you're teaching the children about how to manage anger when they see how mommy and daddy operating. I mean, look at the other case of the stepdad. Was it Roll Bob
Mm,
recently, who came home, the woman not cooking the food on time according to the reports.
mm.
He starts abusing her. The son stepped in, 19 years old, and he stabbed the son. Roll Bob, I think that's the name of the fellow. So that's the other extreme. So we're teaching the kids inadvertently, whether it is deliberate instruction on how to manage anger, how to interact with each other in that household, or what we are teaching them. And so, look, folks, it is not easy. None of this is easy.
Yeah.
None of this is easy. But again, you gotta go out there, you gotta war for your children. And it's not only us as individuals, even the government. Is even the government gotta go out there and fight for the nation's children. We gotta fight for them. You pull up to a stoplight in this country now,
Yeah.
and somebody knocking on your window.
A little child,
It's
always.
always a little child
Always.
knocking on the window. Uncle, uncle. That is what this little country has become. Big resources, small population, more people live in the diaspora than live in this country. Guyanese, always knocking on the window is a little child. We got to solve that. What we do in the National Assembly has to impact that. We can't just have the biggest budgets every year, and every year is more people on the streets begging. Something is
Yeah.
wrong with that.
Yeah, well, what we want to see is like more action, and persons need to understand. Like we have, and when it comes to the cleanup campaign and things like that, I'm just using that as an example. We have persons, someone goes and dumps the garbage, you see the picture popping up, and then the police finds a way to find them. Amazing, because they don't find certain people at all. So they find a way to locate those persons that are dumping the garbage, which is good. Let me just say that, which is very, very good. I support. I'm 100% against any form of littering or anything like that. But the same effort that is put and the same use of resources that is put into finding someone that takes a box of garbage and dumps it on the side of the road, I want to see persons going out there. I want to see this massive campaign that comes under the Minister of India. I want to see this massive campaign when they go through the streets and they start collecting these and they start collecting children and going and look into their family lives and so forth. Why are you here on the street? Why are you knocking at this window begging for something to eat? Those are the type of activities that we need to see more. Those are the social activities. So you just don't go out and say, because we care. You show us that you care. Because if you did care, then you would not have been just driving past these kids and not having any plan of action to actually deal with these matters on the ground.
That being said, folks, that being said, we are in the Soca Monarch season, and let me tell you all off the bat, I am a Tanisha De Freitas fan. Tanisha has a new song out. She goes by the stage name Nikita. I ain't hear what else happening yet. I don't know who else got songs out, but we're going to be sharing some of that in our program with you guys as well. Tanisha has a new song. What's the name of it again? Right Here, Right Here. That's the name of the song. Right Here is the name of the song. And I think it's a fantastic song. I've had the privilege of looking at this young lady develop as an artist over a number of years, and she's only getting better. I think that's why I think I am enamored by her career and all of that, and really wish her and all the other artists locally, they're various. No, I've known her for a long time, and really seen her grow as an artist, hear her voice improve, her songwriting talent, see it improve, her lyrics and all of that improve. And I think kudos. I think the whole industry, really and truly, over the last few years, the standard has lifted. And I want to say a big shout out to all of the folks there making it happen in the music industry locally.
Well, soca is a part of our culture. Soca Monarch. I mean, that's a part of our culture. That's who we are as Guyanese. There's certain things that identify us as a people. There's certain things that actually create the concept of a one Guyana. Right? And
like good music.
These things have been here for a very long time. These things are things that Guyanese generally we're inclined to be a part of. These soca monarchs. Every time you hear soca, we know what is going on. We have an inclination that this is a Guyanese song. Culture is a part of our language, and I dare say that the budget for culture I'm looking at right now, it is not very exciting.
Okay.
But we're not going to go there right now.
Yep. Folks, culture. we mean the ministry of culture, but culture on the whole. And that's why I was referring to the music industry again. The quality has being lifted. You talked there about culture, and I was instinctively thinking. I was reading just I think last evening. MP Ganesh Maipal was raising the point that Region 4 budget is being cut. So as you mentioned culture, but that's the thing that flashed in my mind. Again, biggest budget ever, but not being able to give a bigger allocation to Region 4, but doing the otherwise, cutting that budget. But as we run that, folks, we know that you guys tune into us, and whatever we do, we're going to be labeled APNU AFC, because again, in this one Guyana that we got segments. And so they label us APNU AFC. It's not all of us, right? You support a party, that is the only stain and stigma you will carry throughout your life. That's like a birth certificate. You carry it throughout your life. APNU AFC. That being said, there have been some independent thinkers on budget 2022. We've had our thoughts on it. We've looked through it, look at the programs that are there. Some of them are necessary for the people of this country for a quality lifestyle, the services that are going to be provided, the usual services, the social services, and so forth. We need running water. We need lights. Whoever in government, we need good roads.
Correct.
Right? Whoever is in government, those things are necessary. But we got major disagreements with how sometimes people go about accomplishing these things, how they go about providing these services. That is a challenge that we're going to have. But we found some independent thinkers recently on budget 2022. So you all don't have to say, is APNU AFC. You could never be Sherry Duncan, host of something. APNU AFC parliamentarian. So we were going through Ram and Bukre's focus on budget 2022. Some of it we shared with you last evening is worth repeating because, again, independent thoughts. independent persons on budget 2022, Ram and McCray, and they have been producing these reviews for over 30 years. 30 years. Sound. I don't think anybody in the business community would knock Ram and McCray's budget analysis. These are people who are expert in this area, and they have been looking at budget 2022. And this is what some of what they have had to say about this budget. For instance, they have said that despite the transfer from the oil fund, the budget and accompanying statements show that the deficits will continue for some time to come as many of the capital projects are multi-year. Some of them for as much as 3 years. For 2020 to 22, budget deficits will be some 345 billion. Even by the government's own projections, Ram McCray says, despite the contribution from oil, the budget will be running significant deficits for years to come. From this budget alone, I mean, that is startling to me. I mean, you look at the figures, you analyze them, you look at the budget of itself, and you have your own assessment. But then when you see what you think confirmed by somebody independent, by somebody who understands this process, right? Then you begin to wonder if from one budget you got all this debt for years to come. My God, what's going to happen in the next budget and the one after that? And so don't take our word for it that budget 2022 is bad news for this country. Read Ram and McCray. This is available on their website. It was available in Starbucks News yesterday. Ram and McCray. Take another quote from this. Ram and McCray says again in this review of the 2022 budget, the budget speech almost coincided with the day. The budget speech almost coincided to the day with the publication of the Transparency International Corruption Index for 2021. It came out the day before. The publication showed that Guyana is slipping in the absolute score with many of the guardrails to detect and prevent corruption, such as the Procurement Tribunal, the Integrity Commission, and the Access to Information Act, either non-existent or under-resourced. With increasing use of each cash grant involving billions of dollars, the possibility of corrupt practices and transactions going undetected increases significantly. And we have been talking, thank you for bringing us back, guys. We've been talking here about the guardrails of democracy. If you guys tune into the programs that we curate, we've been talking about breaking down the guardrails of democracy. And why is it that all of these institutions that are supposed to secure Guyanese, whether you support APNU, AFC, PPP, who's supposed to protect our interests, these various institutions, they are either, as Ram McCray says, non-functional, they're dysfunctional, or they're under-resourced. And this is Ram McCray.
Well, I actually want to give some of the data because I just pulled it up. Technology, I love soft copies of everything, so I don't have to walk around with hundreds of pages of the budget.
Fantastic! You got to use it to dispose of.
No, but they're absolutely correct, especially when it comes to the deficits. And I can actually give the numbers. In for the overall deficit, we say as a percentage of the non-oil GDP. And they're speaking about deficit. It's absolutely necessary for us to look at deficit, right? Because basically we're looking at the borrowings. Yes, you're draining the oil revenues into this budget. Yes, you have you have monies that you're using from taxation and so forth. But now we have such a huge deficit still. And why is this so? If persons would remember, if persons would recall, I mean, a lot of people don't pay attention to these numbers. Well, let me remind persons. In 2021, the budgeted when the budget was read, there was a projection of the 2021 deficit as a percentage of non-oil GDP again being 8.7%. I want to tell people the revised 2021 deficit was actually 10.2%. They said it would have been 8.7, but it came back at 10.2. But now we have this biggest budget ever, and we have all the oil resources being drained. So we would expect that, we don't have all that deficit, but lo and behold, we have an estimation, a projection that 2022 budget is going to have this 7% deficit. And this is what these are the things Ron McCray is referring to. It's absolutely correct. And when they talk about the corruption, Sharon, we spoke about it.
And what is more, that this is Raman McCray talking about only this budget moving forward without these guardrails being in place, how the propensity for corruption is so great. And there was our colleague Onij Waldron in National Assembly saying, oh, this government here, you all have no evidence of corruption, as though Sharon Hicks didn't happen. You all have no evidence of racism, as though we weren't here when the majority of folks, 99.999%, dismissed from the public service. Hundreds of persons since the administration came in have been Afro guys, but that's another story by itself. But to hear our colleague, as we say in the house, our honorable colleague Onij Waldron talking about she was like another gentleman asking, show us the evidence. Show us the evidence. But whenever people talk about that, what happens afterwards? Show us the evidence.
Well, I dare say I'm actually presenting tomorrow in Parliament when it comes to the budget debates, and I will be showing some evidence. I'll be just reminding them. I'll read from their own budget presentation, 2021, 2022, and I will say, look, these are the numbers. These are the numbers that I will be carrying. I will be simply reminding them of their own numbers and the performance of the various sectors in this country under their administration, as opposed to under the Granger-led administration. I mean, you want the evidence, I will provide the evidence. I mean, a lot of them have been asking, show us the evidence. Easy for you to go into the National Assembly and present a debate that says, and they were bad for you, and they were never good, and they were never caring, and we are good. But then when persons actually provide the evidence, what could you say? I can tell you what's going to happen. We're going to have the heckle choir that is going to be in tune, and they're going to be at their loudest, because that's what they do when they can't refute the fact. They go into this whole chaotic the feel of heckling.
But I think when all of that is said and done, we have to come back, and we gotta think about again how we gonna move this country forward. Right? The process is not finished. Yes, it is a 550 something $billion budget. But the debate is this week. Next week is the scrutiny, the line by line, page by page scrutiny of the estimates. And this government still has an opportunity to pull back some stuff, to put in some more meaningful stuff in this budget. It is not signed, sealed, and delivered. The budget, when the budget is passed,
Yeah.
right, it becomes when that bill, the expropriation bill,
Correct.
right, is passed, then the budget is law, right, and this is how the money's got to spend. But up until that time, there is still room. And if we're really and truly talking about one Guyana and about inclusivity, then we're going to be looking to see how our colleagues on the other side, how much they listen to us. And, they know you got some good ideas on our side of the House in National Assembly, right? Not on the other side of society, because again, if it's one Guyana, it's one Guyana. That's all. But on the other side of the House, you got some good ideas too. How can we melt all of that together, mold all of that, and move this country forward?
I'm listening.
If it's one Guyana.
Yeah, I'm listening to you. I'm listening to Sheridan. All I'm thinking about is what I said a bit earlier in the show today, that it's good that we're young MPs. It's good that we don't have this built-up animosity that a lot of persons perceive politicians to have against each other. But we don't have that. I personally don't have it. That's just not within my DNA to have it. But the very fact that Sheridan is sitting here saying that there's still time, this could be changed. It just goes to show the interest that we have in Guyana and the development of Guyanese. It's way different, because I can assure you, Sherrod, that there will be nothing changed. I can assure you, because there has been absolutely no indication that this budget, the debate process, is one that the PPP is doing to say, oh, well, they're saying something here, so we may be able to implement that. No, they see this process as just going through the woodworks, basically. We have to do this.
But what I wanted to say there, based on my certainty, I wanted the Guyanese people to know that if they want to change stuff,
They
Nothing
can't.
is final. They have the scope.
They have
They
the
got
scope.
10 days ahead of us. We're 10 days out from this appropriations bill being passed and making the budget legal.
Correct.
So if they're really and truly listening to Guyanese people, we know they're on social media too. Right now they're listening to us. Right now they're reading your comments there. If they're listening and if they're talking about inclusivity and this, we're all one and all we ideas matter and so on, there is still time. Whether they change it or not is another story. Right? You have your position that these people set in the ways. They're done in a mold already. The concrete done mix. Might be strong concrete based on the post that fall along on Vicinton Road the other day. Based if it's that kind of concrete, it's into form.
No, but persons, and I have the evidence. I understand based on their track record, they're not going to change anything because they have shown to be just that. They've shown us thus far. I mean, we always leave room for improvement. You know, they can come surprise us. We welcome the surprise and change something that for the Guyanese people. You're out there. You listen to the criticisms of the budget that thus far, and it's not all criticism. You know, there's some sections of society that is going to commend this and that.
The private sector.
Different various aspects of the budget and so forth, but they're very independent thinkers. You were referring to Rama McCray and their analysis of the budget altogether. You know, these are experts in their own. So go out there, listen to them, and see if you can change something. If you want to show that you have any interest in the whole process of responding to Guyanese, a critique altogether, but they're not going to do that. And I want to say at this point, Sharon, that I encourage persons prior to the debate starting to log on, go listen to these debates, you know, and the opening presentation for the government side of the house yesterday was no other than Mr. Hamilton.
Joe Hamilton.
Joe Hamilton.
Don't remember Joe Hamilton.
I can't.
Pinstripe pillory Joe. You know, but that being said, there was a comment by Ram and McCray on the private sector and government. I think it's tremendously important. Let us share that with you. And I think I heard myself mention private sector there, and I want you to know that Ram and McCray also flagged this relationship between the private sector and government. And this is what Ram and McCray said, that the budget focus can simply repeat its budget focus. Ram and McCray's budget focus can simply repeat what it said the previous year. Clearly, the Private Sector Commission appears to have had a more favorable response to their requests. For instance, the teaching service made requests of the government, the teaching service, the union, Ghana Teachers Union, made certain requests of the government. You had the trades union that made requests of the government too. But Ram McCray says it seems like it's only private sector proposals found favor with the government. In fact, it does seem as if some of the measures announced by the minister in 2022 speech came straight from the PSC's proposals. It is also clear the PSC has an unhealthy sway over this administration. That's Ram McCray, folks. That's not us being critical of the government, right? I would like to say something different, right? I want to say something different, but the evidence is there. We talk about the evidence.
And again, I want to remind persons, you know, I need to go and start cutting these little clips of when I say these things, because I said previously, Sharon, that the issue that we haven't right about now is the government, and the government of the day is supposed to operate in such a manner that the resources, the country's resources, your taxpayers' dollars, is being used in ways that will benefit the people of this country without having a profit motivation. And I've said it before, the issue that we're having right now is that the government is operating in such a way that appears to be profit motivated. And when we have that situation, we would understand why their policies would favor the private sector, because they see themselves as one with the private sector, as opposed to being a government that goes out there to help the people, regardless of whether or not they leave with something in the pocket.
FYI.
Of the day. And that is the issue that we've been calling out. It is impossible for the government of the day to actually care about the poor people, persons living below the poverty line, when they are inclined to be one with a profit motive. That's what they're doing right about now. Everything that they do is in tune. Profit, profit, profit. That's not how governments are supposed to operate. But that is how the administration, currently the PPP administration is operating. And I'm glad I'm not the only person that's saying it. They could say that, AP and USC MPs, they're critiquing the budget again. They don't want to say. But then what are you going to say about Raman McCray? What are you going to say about him?
They can say Raman McCray is after FC now.
I'll take
Raman
that.
McCray is after FC. Folks, and this information is available online. Just type in Raman McCray Budget Review 2022 and you see there, it's online. You can go through it and you can read it. We haven't parsed what they have said. We've given it to you very plainly there. In big and bold, we just pulled out the information for you and we said, we could have put the whole report right here, but we ain't got the time. So we just pull out some of it for you guys. But this was happening. But as we said, I want to call on the better angels. I want to call on the better angels. You see the guys in the back giving me lots of signs and signals. So you see me look off with lots of signs and signals. I'm calling on the better angels. In this budget year, if we still got some time, we could pull back some of this stuff and put in some meaningful policies into these programs. Christopher Jones, the opposition chief, pointed out in his presentation yesterday that budget after budget, nothing for public servants. What the police do, y'all? What the army do, y'all? What the public service do, y'all? 3 budgets later, nothing for public servants. There is still scope. You can't say last year you give me 7.5 for 2 budgets, which is 3 something, but 7% over 2 budgets, 3.5 each, and say, well, last year I gave you all something, nothing this year. What's in it for us? What have you done for us lately?
Absolutely nothing. I don't think that there is any.
FYI.
Absolutely nothing has been done for the public servants, and I say over and over again, it's amazing that the PPP ministers have the gall, they have the belly, as we say, to go into work to those ministries and have to depend hand and foot on the persons, on the public servants, those are the persons that actually keep the country moving and keep those ministries moving forward, those public servants. But they have the belly to go into those ministries and face those people, knowing full well that they have done absolutely nothing in the budget for them. That's a different level of evil, I dare say.
That's right. That's why I'm calling on the better angels. That is why, right? I'm calling on the better angels to prevail. And you got little time. We got some time. We're saying give grain to some time. People didn't listen.
Yeah, I actually want to
comment. Some time, eh?
I want to comment on that. You know why I have to comment on that? Because I've been following some of the comments that's coming from some persons that believe that it is their birth right to be a supporter of the current administration, the PPP. And they went out there and when they read the budget, they were so heartbroken that the only thing they could have come back and say, Rome wasn't built in a day. And I found that comment to be absolutely hilarious because this is coming from a group of people that when the PPP was in office for 23 years, the coalition came in 2015 after the PPP was in office 23 years. And before 2015 could have concluded, they were like, and why didn't do this yet? And why didn't do this yet?
Rome wasn't built. Rome wasn't built.
But now those very persons are out there saying Rome wasn't built in a day. So
give the PPP some time. That's what it says. Give the PPP some time.
But we can even look right now at the PPP ministers in government right now. They have the balls to actually stand in the National Assembly and say, oh, we are doing this to this region. It's the first time ever it's happening. So, the leader of the License Change, Cameron Ramdatan, said, but you were there for 23 years prior to the 4th. You didn't go and do it then? But they don't want to hear that. They think it's they believe that persons have a very short memory, but we make sure that people remember. We make sure that we bring the information and we make sure that we back it up. You don't have to go back up the information that I'll be presented in National Assembly tomorrow. I'm going to do that myself. I'm going to be looking at how the country performed under the coalition as opposed to how it's performing right now under the PPP. Some of the numbers have been out there, but some of the numbers will be brand new because I dare say, I believe one of their presenters yesterday, I can't remember her name. She was saying that numbers don't lie. My numbers will not be lying.
But Lawrence, we had some numbers at that place there, right, that says Apnu AFC won the last election. So in that vein and that tenor,
And that on that note, I have to give credit to Ganesh Maipal
numbers don't
for
lie.
the way in which he handled yesterday when he was presenting and he was stopped by the speaker to say that he would have to provide evidence of persons voting that are actually dead and those persons being recorded as having voted and so forth. And his response was on point because he responded and said, I can present the evidence. You know, I was in the recount every single day, and I would bring those numbers to you, and I would present those evidence to you. And he's absolutely correct. They didn't like that,
But
of course.
you know what the speaker is going to say? You haven't made out a prima facie case. Like he did that motion to sanction some of the government MPs. You haven't made out a prima facie case. But even when you bring the evidence, even when you bring the video and you show that some government MPs behaving very, very badly, you haven't provided sufficient. It's a strange country we live in. Strange country we live in. Yep.
It's very strange, and you were absolutely correct. But I noted that we're getting some signals in the back there about our time, so I don't want us to
Yep.
dive into too many issues right now. But today, Sharon, one I think it's absolutely necessary for us to enlighten the Guyanese people of what's going to be happening today in the National Assembly.
Yep.
When are you going to be speaking? That's a
I am speaking tomorrow, I think it is. Tomorrow, I think I'm up, or it's Thursday. One of those days, guys, be speaking. But while Juita gets that, I want to give a shout out to Laverne, Harry Chiran, Kelman, up early watching us. Henry Ramnot, is it Henry? Yes, Henry Ramnot, and Kimo Waldron, and Andrew Cuthbert, Marlon Kamini, Van Veen here as well. Thank you guys for getting up so early with us to tune into our morning program, FYI. We're going to be here every morning. As I said to you guys, I am promising I can be here every morning, but we're going to be here every morning with you guys, every morning of the week with information that we think is relevant to you guys and that you guys need and should be concerned about. We're going to be here. We're going to be here. And we're so thankful that hundreds of you have joined the broadcast this morning, tuning in for information. Good to see you. Chin Heil, I see Chin Heil is there. Lennox Anderson, and is it Winnie Bass and Tanya Cummins, all you guys. Thank you so much for getting up this early, guys. This is part also of the ITR family, and so all of the means to contribute to our program remains the same. We got the Cash App that's available. We got PayPal and Zelle, and you guys know it perhaps by rote, and we're going to be telling you guys some more of that in subsequent programs. We're going to give you all everything this morning, and some of you all already know it. But you know, you likely got CGX and Frontier and so on. Yeah, I want to come on board and sponsor the whole thing. Be our guest. Be our guest.
Well,
CGX and Frontier and so forth.
We did give them a lot of promo time this morning.
Yeah, new oil fine and another well to be drilled and all of that. Some of the papers we're picking up on here. Good news for Guyana, really and truly. But the people have now been taxed. You know, lots of oil fines, we've said. But we ain't feeling it. We ain't feeling the money, right? And then the money now being incorporated in this biggest budget ever. And then again, we ain't feeling it. We ain't feeling it. We had the big tussle in Parliament in December concerning the passage of the Natural Resource Fund bill that is now an act. And it seems like what was all of that about, even to the extent that it was supposed to be the board of the NRF that dictates how the money is spent. But the government just spent out all of it with no board. Yeah. And then there was supposed to be a committee that gives oversight to the projects that attracts the funding from the NRF. No committee has ever met to determine what these projects will be, but the money spent out, right? And then we don't even know which projects from this budget here, these funds are going to be spent on specifically for the oversight and the transparency and all of that, for the monitoring and all that. Yeah. So what's the NRF for?
Well, basically, it was designed in such a way for the PPP to have its way. And by saying that, I mean that whoever controls the decision making at the helm of the PPP to have their way. If I can put it just as frank as
Well,
that.
it is what it is.
It is what it is. But going back to the speakers lineup today for the opposition in Parliament, well, I'll just give the speakers lineup. I wouldn't even say for the opposition because we're starting off this morning with Kemarj Ramjasan. He will be making his presentation, and then he will be followed by Zulfikar Mustafa, and Mustafa is going to be coming. And
I want to hear
his
Zulfikar.
tagline will be, "Look what you did to the sugar workers," right? But what his tagline will not be is that
We have not opened any sugar estates
is
since
that
we were
he
there.
has not opened any sugar estate,
I want
and
to hear
that there
Zulfikar.
is absolutely no plan for him to open any sugar estate. And what his tagline will not be further is that in 2021, last year, his full year in office, we had 58,000 tons of sugar as opposed to the 87,000 tons in 2020. That's what he will not be saying tomorrow. But he's going to go and he's going to try to say that he is a savior for persons that he's absolutely not making any attempt.
Who else? I want to hear Zulfikar. I really want to hear what he has to say.
All right. So that's the first two. We're going into Don Hastings Williams, and then we have Alessa Charlie. You all know Alessa Charlie. You can Google that name. We have Jarman Figuera, and then he's going to be followed by Charles Robs. You know, Jarman always goes and he just let Charles know what's up when it comes to the Ministry of Culture.
I hope Charles better this year. Charles usually all his presentation usually all over the place. I hope Charles come this year and really represent Queens.
No,
I hope so. I keep hoping.
He went to Queens.
I keep hoping. I think so. I think he went to Queens. I keep hoping.
I question that.
I hope he represents this year.
I question Charles going to Queens. I mean, I have no evidence of that, but I think I saw him with a Queen's tie at one time. But nevertheless,
I hope he represents
what
this
I can
year.
say about Charles Ramson's last presentation in National Assembly in 2021, as the minister, he's given 30 minutes, and he can have 5 minutes additional if he hasn't concluded in the 30 minutes. And what he did last year, 2021, is he utilized his entire 30 minutes to say absolutely nothing about culture, youth, and sports and what is in the budget for it. And when the speaker told him that you have to get 5 minutes more to conclude your presentation, he decided to say, well, he didn't get a chance to speak on the plans for the ministry, so he's going to go outside and talk to the media. That is the joke of a representation that we were given from Charles Robson last year. So I expect nothing different from him this year, but surprise me, Charles.
I call them a better angel.
Right.
I'm calling them a better angel. Folks, unfortunately, that's our time for FYI today. Thanks for joining us, each and every one of you. Is it Willie Bias and Pamela Jerrick, Dorian Cook? I see Alan Fernandez watching us as well, Carl Miller, and all the other fantastic folks. Thank you, guys. We'll be right back here tomorrow with another program of FYI. Maybe we may have another guest. Folks, we're gonna always keep a seat for you guys. The good thing on this show, I can actually get up. I'm wearing right pants. I can actually get up, and we're gonna pull up another. I'm gonna step off set for a little bit, pull up another chair to show that we're gonna be having some guests here, and perhaps the chair is for you. Stepping off for a second. I know my mic is still hot, so I gotta watch what I say. But we're gonna pull up another chair just for you guys.
Not being very proper this morning, as he told you earlier. He's not going to be.
It's not only one of those politically correct programs. So we have a chair pulled up for you guys here to join us every morning. We may have a guest or not, but this chair really and truly is for you out there. It's for you out there to join us every morning and be part of what's happening, getting your first dose of information for the day. And then by the time you get to the podcast at midday, it's the second dose. And then you get the booster in the evening, is the booster dose.
I think basically what Sherrod is saying, that morning, noon, and night.
Morning, noon, and night. I tell you all, I ain't know what Churrito, but I ain't going to be every morning. But we're going to be on every morning during the week here, giving you information, giving you news, credible and valid.
Well, I think it has been an amazing show this morning, FYI, very first show. And I think it was very good. That I see the comments coming in. Persons are very happy to join us. And it's always good to know that we are bringing information to people and that they are receiving those information very, very well. And not only in Guyana,
Drita,
but around the world.
I had this chair here. I don't know who moved it. I had this chair here to start the show. Somebody move it out. I don't understand. But this chair is reserved for you guys. Every morning you have a seat at our table as we begin the morning. Thanks for joining FYI.
Thank you for joining us. We make sure that Mr. Duncan is fed tomorrow morning before he starts.
I just feel the pangs. Things tight, folks. I feel the pangs of hunger. Things tight. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Stay safe.